Got him. Ooh, that feels like a pretty good one. Man, I just love pan fishing. It really, when it comes down to it, pan fishing is some of my favorite fishing. And I know people get used to seeing me chasing walleyes, but I'll tell you what, it is tough to beat crappie or bluegill fishing, in my opinion, especially in the spring and fall. Man, look at that one. That one's jet black. He's just getting ready to head into spawn. We're catching these fish before they get into the spawning grounds. Look at that one. Dynamite fish. Hey, I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm using, because when it really comes down to it, there's a couple things going to pan fishing. Number one is location, but number two, and if you don't have this part of it, you're not going to catch these fish, is what are you using and how are you using it. Today what I'm using is a little nipper, and you can see where that's hooked, okay? This is a Lindy Little Nipper. I've got him right through the upper lip. One of the reasons that I'm able to stick these fish and keep them hooked up is one thing about the little nipper. If you look at a lot of panfish jigs out there, they have such a small light wire hook on them. You get bigger fish like that one right there, a lot of times what can happen is you end up in a scenario where you can actually bend that hook back, or when you're going to take the hook out of their mouth, if you get them in the bony part up front on a crappie or up in a bluegill's upper lip, here's the deal. Sometimes you can really bend that hook up and make a mess taking it out. Next thing you know, you're going to have to tie on a new jig. You don't got to worry about that with the Lindy Little Nipper. This thing's got a nice stout hook on it that's always going to stay solid. It's going to do a good job for you. Comes in a whole variety of sizes and colors. And you know, over the years, Lindy's always made sure that the right colors were in the little nipper. Crappie colors, a lot of whites, a lot of chartreuses, a lot of pinks. Colors that are going to catch fish, orange. And you know, when it comes down to it, crappies are sight feeders. The reason that you're always wanting those brighter colors when you're crappie fishing is because they are sight feeders day in and day out. So ultimately, that's why the little nipper has the colors on it that it has. And then on top of that, you add that hair on the back. And what that hair's doing is constantly poofing. So every time I move that bait, move that jig, whether I'm casting it and retrieving it or throwing it out under a float and just popping it under that float, that hair's going poof, poof, poof. And when you can do that, it's doing another thing. It's attracting fish from a distance. They think it's something different. I'm tipping it with a minnow today, but you can tip it with a night crawler. You can tip it with plastic, and it's just as effective any way you want to do it. Man, I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a panfish jig, one that's been proven over time that just flat out catches fish, can't beat a Lindy Little Nipper. Make sure you pick some of these up, and you know what? You're gonna pick up some of those crappies, fill your live well, and get the fun of catching those fish and throwing them back as well. Great little jig right there. It's my go-to for panfish.